Two completely unrelated topics. The only kind of connection I guess you can make is that they both occurred during the Middle Ages. So I'll be starting off with the Papal Schism, conflict between Rome and Avignon, and then moving on to the importance and significance of the Ottoman Empire and their conquering of Constantinople and the Byzantine Empire, the last remnants, in 1453. Let's talk a bit about the Avignon papacy. Now, the papacy had become very corrupt, and it had become very unstable. When there was a papal election, people didn't know who to vote for, and the papacy obviously resided in Rome. And the papacy is actually going to be going to Avignon, France, starting with Pope Clement V. He actually moves the papacy. Think about this. The Pope doesn't actually live in Rome at the time. Moves it to France under the protection of the French king. People in Rome are furious. It's ridiculous. It hasn't, the Pope has been there for over 1,000 years. That's not where he's supposed to be. He's not supposed to be in Rome. And Clement V moves it there, and it's very famous for just being a very lavish kind of papal palace, not caring much about helping people out, but living in luxury. And including to selling this, including to fund this, they sell indulgences, which shortens or eliminates people's times in purgatory if they pay a bit of time. Purgatory, remember, is that kind of after you die, not heaven, not hell. This period is, with its detractors, is actually referred to as, quote, the second Babylonian captivity, referring, back to the earlier days of the Hebrews as they were captured by the Babylonians under Nebuchadnezzar, taken out of their holy land, just like the papacy was taken out of its true land of Rome, is kind of the belief. And I'll read this quote here. This is obviously from an Italian dude, if you look at that name. And he refers to Avignon as the mother of fornication, lust, and drunkenness, abomination, filthiness, seated upon the rushing waters of the Rome, and her prelates are indeed like the scarlet woman, clothed in purple and gold and silver and precious stone, and drunk. So not everybody, obviously people that are French enjoy having the papacy there because it brings power, prestige, and money to the area. But Italians are not so happy. The Colosseum falls apart, they can't repair it, etc. A couple looks at the papal palace. It looks more like a fortress. Pretty cool looking building, and you can just see the wealth and imagine the wealth of the Pope moving the papacy there. Another look, and as you can tell, it's a very Gothic style building. And another look as well. So we get to a schism or a break where we have two different popes. We have double popes. The Romans are going to elect their own pope, Urban VI, and the French are going to elect their own pope, Clement VII. And the Papal Schism, different countries are going to go and actually choose different sides to go on. Who are you going to support? Which pope is the right pope to go on? Eventually, the problem is going to be settled, but it's going to take a while. As you can see on this map, different areas support the different popes, and they refer to each other as the anti-pope. Just something to keep in mind, England and France hate each other at the time because they're fighting the 100 Years' War. And if you've ever seen Braveheart, you know why Scotland and England don't exactly get along well, too. So you'll see that there's kind of a political idea behind there as well. And another look, just to take a look there. And we actually, to make it even more fun, we had three popes. There was the Peace of Pope at one point, and you can take a look at kind of the overlap between these different popes. Finally, the problem is solved at the Council of Constance. What happens is over a period of time, they meet and they decide, okay, essentially this is not good to have the church divided for obvious reasons. It weakens them. And all three popes are basically forced out. And the savior pope, Martin V, is elected and supported by all the three different areas. And the Papal Schism is over. And that is why we only have one Catholic Church. We're not going to have another break off into the Orthodox Church for the time being. Martin. Kind of ironic that the guy's name is Martin, if you know your Protestant Reformation history. Now moving on to the Ottoman Empire, very famous empire because it's going to take out the last remnants of the Roman Empire going back, thousands of years, and that's the Byzantine Empire. Mehmed II is the leader of the Ottomans, and he very famously, in the year 1453, surrounds the city of Constantinople and takes it over. Famous in the battle is the use of gunpowder by the Ottomans to blast through the walls, and they get through the city relatively quickly in just a couple months, and the Byzantine Empire essentially falls at this point. and it's going to be the end of that era of civilization. Some people say this is the kind of the beginning of the modern era and the end of the medieval era, as these people are kicked out. And it's kind of just a significant symbolic date. Some people have also argued that a lot of these men went and traveled to Italy that were living, Greeks inside Constantinople, and this is what caused the Renaissance as well. In addition, this city, Constantinople, is going to be begun to known as Istanbul, kind of more of its modern name around this period. So there's Mehmed II traveling with his troops, and you can see the big old cannon there. Another look at the cannon, and a final look at him as well. So there you go. Like I said, two unrelated. There's really no direct connection. You can let me know if you see any. But the Papal Schism and the Ottoman capture of Constantinople in 1453.